Today, we're diving into one of the most unbelievable cases in all of Starfleet history. We're talking about a decorated, absolutely brilliant officer, Mr. Spock, who finds himself on trial for treason. And the penalty for this crime? Death. And this is the question at the heart of it all. Spock, the guy who is the literal definition of logic, has just committed a whole series of crimes that seem totally irrational. He's hijacked a starship, he's broken a direct order that he knew carried a death sentence, and he's pleaded guilty to every single charge. You have to ask, why? And this is the man at the center of the whole mystery. Captain Christopher Pike. You know, it wasn't long ago that he was the very picture of a Starfleet captain, commanding, respected, but after a terrible accident, he's a shell of who he once was. Trapped, silent, and this is the person Spock is willing to die for. So the court-martial gets underway, the charges are read out, and believe me, they are as serious as it gets. We're talking high treason. And Spock, he just stands there. He doesn't even try to defend himself.
Look, you really can't overstate how serious these actions are. Spock didn't just bend the rules here, he completely shattered them. And that destination, Talos 4, that's the key. It is the one and only place in the entire galaxy that Starfleet has declared totally forbidden under General Order 7. The penalty for even going there is death. No trial, no appeal. And Spock knew this. He knew exactly what he was doing.
So instead of offering up some legal defense, Spock does something nobody could have predicted. He hijacks the courtroom's main view screen and starts playing a video feed, a transmission coming directly from Talos 4. His entire defense, his entire explanation for all of this is a story from 13 years in the past. And just like that, the transmission pulls us back in time. We're about to see the first and only time a Federation starship ever visited this forbidden planet, an encounter that, as we're about to find out, set this entire tragedy into motion. You know, it all started the way these stories often do, with a distress call. Captain Pike's Enterprise picks up a signal from a ship that's been missing for almost 20 years. They beam down, they find survivors, but it's all fake. The survivors, the camp, all of it. It was nothing more than an elaborate illusion, a trap. And just like that, Captain Pike is captured. So who are his captors? They're called the Talosians, and their power, it's almost impossible to wrap your head around. See, they don't build cages out of metal. They build them inside your mind. They can project images, sounds, feelings, entire worlds directly into your consciousness. And that's what makes their power so terrifying. They can reach right into your head, pull out your deepest memories, your biggest fears, your most secret desires, and then use all of that to build a world around you that is absolutely 100% indistinguishable from reality. It's the perfect prison because you don't even know you're in it. So for Captain Pike, this means that one minute he's the captain of a starship, and the next, he's been reduced to something else. He's a specimen in a zoo. This quote from the head Talosian, the keeper, really says it all. They don't see Pike as a person. They see him as a creature. They study his primitive reactions, his confusion, all with this cold, scientific curiosity. To them, he's just an animal in a cage. And then we learn their endgame, and it is absolutely horrifying. They want to use Pike, along with another human they've captured, a woman named Vina, as breeding stock. Their plan is to literally create a race of human slaves who will rebuild their entire civilization for them. And here's the great irony of the Talosians. They have these godlike mental powers, right? But they've become so addicted to living inside their own illusions, but they've forgotten how to do, well, anything. They can't build things. They can't even repair the ancient machines that keep them alive. Their minds are all powerful, but their world is literally falling apart around them. But then, Pike finds a crack in their armor. He realizes that when he floods his mind with one single, powerful, primitive emotion, just pure, raw hate, it's like static to them. They can't read his thoughts. For just a moment, his mind is his own again, and that's his first weapon. And that one little discovery leads to the climax of this whole story. It all hinges on a fundamental part of being human, something that Talosians, for all their power, just cannot comprehend. The Talosians offer Pike a paradise. Seriously. They tell him he can live out any fantasy, have anything he's ever wanted, all inside his mind. A perfect, comfortable cage. But what they just don't get is that for humans, any cage is still a cage. That drive to be free is just, it's stronger than any desire for comfort.
So, faced with Pike's stubborn resistance, his willingness to actually die rather than be their slave, the Talosians are stumped. They start digging through Starfleet's historical records about humanity, trying to figure us out. And what they find? Well, it changes everything.
And there it is. That's their big conclusion. They finally understand. Humans just can't be domesticated. Our deep, instinctual hatred of being caged makes us totally unsuitable for their plan. They realize their perfect mental prison is no match for our primitive need to be free. And so, they let him go.
And just like that, the transmission from the past ends. We're back in the present day, back at Spock's court-martial. And now finally, all the pieces are on the board. We can finally understand why Spock did what he did.
And that's when the final twist hits. The Commodore, presiding over the trial, the charges, the entire court-martial, it was all a masterfully crafted illusion, a fiction created by the Talosians. It was all designed to buy Spock just enough time to complete his real mission.
We also learned the heartbreaking truth about Vina, that woman from Pike's past. Turns out she was the only survivor of that long-ago crash, and she was terribly injured. The Talosians saved her, but having never seen a human before, they pieced her back together wrong. Her real body is severely disfigured. She could only survive on Talos 4, where they can give her the illusion of being whole.
And this is what it all comes down to for Captain Pike. This is his choice. His reality is a living prison, a broken body that he can't even control. But the Talosians are offering him an alternative, a full life, lived entirely in his mind. A perfect illusion where he can be whole again, where he can walk and talk and live alongside Vina.
Well, presented with all of this, Starfleet does the unthinkable. They make an exception, just this once. They suspend General Order 7, and Captain Pike makes his choice. He accepts their offer. Spock's treason, it was never treason at all. It was an act of incredible compassion, giving his old captain the only chance he had left for a life worth living.
And that leaves us with this huge question, doesn't it? For a man who once chose death over living in a comfortable cage, the great irony is that his final freedom could only be found inside one. So what would you do? Would you choose a painful, broken reality or a perfect, beautiful illusion?